jazz guitarist. Today I want to make a video about this overemphasis on transcribing, okay? These little overemphasis videos of mine, it's not like they're like runaway successful or anything, okay? But I do have an opinion and I want to share it because, I can play and I put in 20 years time and I just kind of want to share some deep insights, some things that I wish that I would have known a long time ago. Now, today I just want to kind of talk about transcribing. So here's my book of what I call carefully transcribed solos on there, okay? And I have a lot of these, okay? I did a lot of transcribing. And the main reason that I did a lot of transcribing was because that's what people told me to do to get really good at jazz, okay? And I'll be honest with you, like, not really. It's not really what got me to the next level. One thing that it does is it definitely gets the sounds of jazz in your ear. Okay, so if there's a lot of stuff that you're hearing a lot of jazz and it just sounds like a lot of it just sounds like that to you all day and your ears aren't really sharp. Okay, you should do a little bit of transcribing because it will sharpen your ears a little bit. Okay, just a little bit, it will. All right, but the main thing that so I did like Wave by Herb Ellis. Okay, and these are all handwritten. I did Mike Stern Giant Steps. That took me forever. There's a really great solo by Lage Lund called That Old Feeling. I transcribed that. And it goes on and on and on. The most important solo that I ever... So here's Stella. I forget who the guitarist, I think Russell Malone. The most important jazz solo that I ever transcribed, I don't really have it in this book, but it was from a John Scofield record. And it's a song called Not You Again, which is a contrafact of There Will Never Be Another You. There Will Never Be Another You is a very, very good, like, kind of intermediate jazz song. Once you get out of, like, the impressions and the maiden voyage and the blues, like, There Will Never Be Another You is a good jazz song to learn, okay? So, like, it did kind of get the feeling of how I should be playing, the phrasing in my ear a lot, but the main reason why I don't think that transcribing is as much help as people think is because when you're transcribing another guy's trick bag, okay, you need to take into account that you don't really play like that guy. And hopefully if you're an artist out there, unless you're going to be forming some type of weird like jazz cover band or something or jazz tribute act, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be playing like another guy. One of the best quotes that I ever heard was, "You're never going to be as good as another guy at what he does." And there's just an inordinate amount of time that I think is spent on ripping certain guys' styles. Okay, like Django Reinhardt, there's a million Django clones out there. Kurt Rosenwinkel. When I was at the New School in the 2010s, like everybody there played like Kurt Rosenwinkel. Everybody had like a semi-hollow body with a bunch of delay, and they were all doing like hammer on, right? I like Kurt, but I never endeavored to play like Kurt. I wanted to play like myself. And if you want to play like yourself, then you need to start inventing things like yourself, okay? Now, let's take that song, There Will Never Be Another You, okay? Starts in E flat, okay? Okay? And we have a turnaround to C minor, and then it just goes right down to a turnaround to A flat. A flat minor, okay? Okay, 1, 6, and then it does this, which is a 2 dominant 7. And as I've said before, 2 dominant 7, oftentimes it's like a Lydian dominant sound, this type of sound. Okay, now I didn't really use any of the vocabulary from any of the numerous solos that I've transcribed over the years, because once you're working on a solo, it's like you can only keep another guy's vocabulary in your working memory for so long. It's not like performing a classical piece, okay? Like, we want to improvise, right? Like, jazz is improvisers' music. So I think that your time would be better spent if you're going to transcribe a solo, pick one solo, okay, over a song that you're really, really trying to learn, okay? There's a lot of songs where they are not really improvised over in the correct way. But the best thing to do is, it's not going to help you very much just ripping another guy's material unless you know what it is you're playing. okay? If I'm doing this, okay, that all sounded really good and it was correct, but if you don't know what that is, then it's not going to help you. It's just memorized licks, okay? If you don't know what makes up somebody's line, then how does it help you? It would be like transcribing a foreign language movie and you don't know what any of the words are, okay? What good is that? It's not going to help you learn the language. Like, it'll help you get the sound of the language in your head a little bit and maybe a little bit of the syntax and the pronunciation. But overall, just as in jazz improvisation, you would be better served by seeking out a teacher, and a teacher who just tells you when you're improvising over a 1 major 7 chord that what you really want to use there is like major pentatonic or harmonic major if you must, but major pentatonic or just the major scale. Okay, and what did I do there? That is a very, 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 very common jazz sound. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. Now, if you were to just rip exactly what I did, congratulations, you would have it. But unless you know what it is that I'm thinking in my head, then you're going to forever just be condemned to like, oh, every single time I get to like a minor turnaround, I can use these. It's like, but why? That's where you need a teacher, okay? So rather than transcribing solo after solo after solo, thinking that it's going to improve your jazz vocabulary, you need to just get a really good teacher and to understand that jazz improvisation is not as hard as people make it out to be. Okay, there's a handful of kind of chord scales that go with specific chords. And then after that, a lot of that is just your own creativity. Land your chord tones on downbeats, okay? And get yourself a teacher who teaches you the right chord scales that go with the right harmony, okay? That's about all I got for today. Hit me up for a lesson if you want. Peace.